is that we'll follow through with that intention.
Kia ora, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, good questions, thank you, and I agree with you. Councillor Williamson, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'll be even more brief than Councillor Villapaina. Just two things. An email just came into us all. It's worthwhile just getting an answer if this is correct, because so much myth and legend surrounds everything going on here. It says, Mr. Bruce Robertson, the promoter of Western Springs Speedway, is also the promoter of Waikaraka Park Speedway. Mr. Robertson is the promoter on behalf of the leaseholder. Can I just get a clarification? Is that correct?
No, it's not correct, and we addressed this in our we addressed the specific point in our memo and clarified this with Bruce today.
That's not correct.
So I want to address the relationship. So I'm just looking for the paragraph so that I can refer to it. Palmerston North Speedway Limited has an informal arrangement to assist the Auckland Stock and Saloon Car Club with promotion events at Waikaraka Park. So Bruce is involved in the promotion, but they don't receive any payment for the support.
I didn't ask that. I just all the email said was he is the promoter of Western Springs Speedway and is also the promoter of Waikaraka Park Speedway. Just want to get on the record. Is that correct?
I don't think it is correct. I'm going to ask Tataki to address it because we clarified this. I think in a formal sense, the promoter is the Stock and Saloon Car Club. They get support from Palmerston North Speedway to carry out that promotion activities through an informal arrangement. And so that means Bruce Robertson is involved in promoting the events at Waikaraka, but he's not the formal promoter, is my understanding. And we clarified that with him today.
Okay. My second question surrounds what seems to me to be an elephant in the room, but I've got a bit of a fuzzy head, so I'm probably not good to talk about. But I've heard so much talk on the grapevine about the billionaire Foley wanting to take over Western Springs for Auckland soccer. And there's deals being done where they're going to get everybody out of there and Foley will get his 8,000 seat stadium, and that's already underway. Is that true? Has Tautaki been having negotiations and discussions with Mr. Foley, the billionaire, and for Auckland soccer to be located there at the expense of everyone being moved out? Or is that just, again, myths and legends?
I'll ask Tautaki to address the question about their conversations. I'll just add that any decisions about the future of Western Springs relating to the EOI process will come to this governing body for a decision. And I have not had any conversations with Bill Foley, but I will let Tautaki answer the question about their conversations.
We've got to come clean on this.
Well, I can say we've had no conversations with Bill Foley.
Well, with Auckland soccer then?
We've discussed with Auckland Soccer on we have an arrangement with them at Mount Smart. We discussed the potential of them being at Albany, at North Harbour Stadium. In fact, we've encouraged them initially to do that. And Western Springs has also been part of those conversations.
All right. Well,
but sorry, if I could just finish. There's a formal process with an expression of seeking expressions of interest around what options people would promote for the future of Western Springs Stadium, and any discussions with Bill Foley or Auckland FC are part of a process like that. And so that's confidential, and as Mr. Hardy has said, any decisions or any recommendations or any proposals to come out of that would be a decision for the governing body.
but you see how it makes it hard for us. If we keep hearing those conversations are going on, we don't know if they are or not, and it looks like a predetermined outcome.
Look, I understand the point, Councillor, and I've seen the reports that you've seen and looked at them with interest, as I assume others have here, and gone, that's interesting. What I will say is that the decision that we've brought, the paper we've brought here with the recommendation in our view, stands on its own feet, irrespective of any decision about the future of Western Springs.
Right.
And we've gone, I think, around and round about that in terms of the financial picture, but we can, but also in terms of the future of motorsport, we consider it stands up on its own feet for those reasons, and that you can make that decision and preserve your position in terms of a decision you would make about the future of Western Springs. You may not see it that way, and that is a matter for you.
Okay, and then everyone else got to have one comment. I'm going to make one. I was in Cabinet for a long time, and if any minister had brought a paper this discombobulated with that many different strands that all contradict each other, Prime Minister would have had one comment: take this bloody paper away and get it tidy before you bring it back.
Councillor Walker, you've got yet another one.
Sure. It's a question that's addressed to the Chief Executive for Wilson, and that is, given the legal issues around what is being proposed, particularly the revelations we've had around the clarification of consultation, the fast track process that's been involved with here, and so on and so forth. Has the council sought written legal advice? And I'm not talking about advice from Mr. Hardy. He's not a practicing lawyer. I'm talking about written legal advice, preferably external.
No, we've not sought written legal advice, external or otherwise. I heard the concerns last week. I'll give you a fulsome answer. I heard the concerns last week, and I thought it was prudent to advise you that we pause at that point. We've been over that ground, but I have taken the opportunity to talk with internal legal staff, certainly. It is my view and their view that you have in front of you a sound report, options. You've had clarified for you the views of key stakeholders, and as difficult and contentious as it might be, I think you are in a position to make a decision around this if you choose to do so. The final point, and I made it last week as well, is that I don't think it's appropriate for staff to intervene in this process and tell you you're unable to make a decision. I don't think we're at that point. It is nevertheless open to you if, on balance and by majority, you choose not to make a decision, but you should follow normal process and seek a deferral if that's what you wish to do. Otherwise, it is entirely valid in my view that you either vote for or against the motion or seek to amend it.
Thank you.
Councillor Newman.
Chair, since the Maungakiki Tamaki Local Board was invited to answer a question, I actually had one for them as well. Well, the Maungakiki Tamaki Local Board was invited to answer a question. I actually had one for them as well, if that's possible.
There don't appear to be any more questions of the original people, so that's the end of questions. Once we've got these two, and then we'll go. So you fellas can retire.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming up there, Maungakiki Board Chair and Deputy. And Councillor Newman has a question for you.
Look, thank you. I mean, I've always been very sympathetic to Waikaraka. I actually really want to see this deal happen, although the consequences of it are frankly difficult. But my question to you, the presentation of this refers to the $11 million of critical works to be funded, but it remains very much, Waikaraka Park remains a local park. I accept the proposition that you would hope that the promoter would continue to invest and to reinvest into the park moving forward. If that does not realise a sort of return back into the maintenance and the development of the park, it's a local park which ultimately it's a local capital asset that
theoretically sits on your work program, how are you going to respond to that in the future if your development aspiration doesn't meet what is not met, and you do require more funding, because it doesn't come back to us, it comes to you?
So in terms of the ongoing maintenance, that'll be the leaseholder's responsibility. Future development is contingent on the leaseholder raising those funds, but that there's two quite significant sides to the park and the master plan. There's the sports fields, and then there's the speedway side of it. Once this initial investment is done, there is no reason why they couldn't continue to operate with this critical work done. It won't have all the bells and whistles, and it won't be gold plated, but I don't think anyone around this table wants gold plating on our speedway. So what they have committed to is to further raise the funds for the grandstand and to increase the capacity. They have shown in the past that they have the viability to do that. They've been running as as a charity, I guess, up till this point, but I would say looking at the work that they do, it's more a social enterprise. In terms of raising the funds to see the master plan, the full master plan come to fruition, we do have some growth funding attached to the fields that are beyond the existing fields, so closer to the harbour, that we've not been able to actually put into development because of the east-west link designation. So there is still opportunities for us there to tap into that funding that's already been in the pipeline.
And can you give me a sense as to what if you can, what you would expect the forecast capital works costs would be for that, the development of those playing surfaces beyond, the motorsport part of the park itself?
Well, interestingly enough, we're actually in our current renewals program looking at carpeting, is that what it's called? The sand carpeting, the majority of those fields anyway. So some of the master plan is actually coming to fruition in our current budget. I don't have a full budget. No detailed design has actually been done in terms of the rest of the development, so I couldn't even give you a ballpark. Councillor Newman, what we did it for predominantly was so that we had a long-term strategy, something that we could aim for, something that we could use that growth funding towards if we were unable to actually have those additional fields, and also to have control of what this development looks like. I said when I presented the other day, rather than just accepting a TAU proposal, this enabled us to actually plan what it should look like and work with all key stakeholders to make sure it served the whole community, not just Speedway.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, I'm going to make a little summing up thing there and then move the proposal, which has been slightly amended. Like most of us in the room, we've been going to Speedway on and off since I was a little boy, and I still go there. I'm good friends of Harley Taylor, who's one of the racers there. I have very fond memories. I'm sure I'm not alone, and many of you have shared anecdotes of your connection to Western Springs. I lived beside it for 7 years recently, and someone before was saying that they'd get a resource consent in 6 years' time to make it more. I can tell you from living around there, that area is gentrifying and moving hard left, and I was the only person in Tuarangi Street who liked to go to the bloody races. So, and I'd say that if you ask for 12, you're likely to get 6 next time down there. We can all share stories of places that have real significance to us, and some of these don't exist anymore. A lot of things have changed. A lot of things have ceased to exist because we can't afford for them. In some cases, closures have resulted in things folding and organisations going bankrupt. It could be the future of Western Springs Speedway. It's heavily constrained due to the nature of the facility, the unitary plan, the resource consent. It's expensive to run, only 12 times a year, costs us $1.2 million. And after listening to very many passionate fans and participants, I haven't heard anyone put up their hand to invest in a future Western Springs. I haven't heard an alternative solution that wouldn't involve us in forking out an unreasonable level of ratepayer dollars to subsidise something which is not currently making money for the operators. The solution in front of us seems pretty reasonable to me. I understand the need for a good compromise, and this appears to be one that gives us sport a sustainable long-term future, 30 years. Additionally, Stock Cars and Palmerston North Speedway have signed an MOU to collaborate at Waikareka Park for 30 years to provide a sustainable pathway for the sport. However, I note this issue has been and will continue to be contentious and fraught. I've listened and read many differing views, and as a result, I think we should provide for more nuance in the decisions today. Therefore, I'd like to propose Chair's recommendations. I'd like to propose that as part of any discussions on the future of Western Springs at TAU, adequately engage with the governing body and the governing body make all associated decisions. Secondly, the issue of the future of Ponsonby Rugby Club is an entirely separate one. However, I also acknowledge there needs to be care taken there. I propose a staff report back to us on engagement with Ponsonby Rugby and the options for their future, and that staff fully address the views and concerns of the club. I want you to listen hard to what they've got to say. So the comprehensive recommendations, please put them up there, are the one that you said, approve the requested transfer of $11 million from Tāteki to Mangakiki Tamaki Board. We're quite happy to have it to fund the critical works and fulfil an important element of the Waikareka Park master plan and which will provide a home for both sports for a long time. B, request any decisions on the future of Western Springs come from before the governing body and involve adequate engagement with the governing body. Don't do anything without us. C, note that the issue surrounding the future of Ponsonby Rugby is separate to the decision being made today. And D, request that the staff report back to the governing body on engagement with Ponsonby Rugby Club and options for their future, and that staff work to fully address the views and concerns of the club. That's very important to me and to Alf. Okay, I am moving that, and I believe it will be seconded by Councillor Bartley. Okay, there will be lots of debate about this, but I realise you've been sitting there patiently for some time, and some of you may well want a comfort break. So I'm going to break for 10 minutes just to ensure that occurs and no one has a heart attack while we're waiting. Thank you very much. I'll see you in 10 minutes' time.